And people don't know this, but by the time I was leaving KBC, they had actually auditioned for another host. They were planning to let me go down slowly,
Planning to let you down quietly.
Yeah, without any noise and anything.
Wow.
So, but I was beginning to feel very uncomfortable. I didn't have the conviction I had before. I wasn't as confident anymore, So I was very distracted, and I knew there's something going on.
There's a transition.
There's a transition, yes. And so when they once called us, I remember it was a Saturday after the show, they called us and said, guys, we are planning to rebrand the show, and that will mean some of you leaving. I was so sure they're talking about me.
Hey everybody, my name is Angie Murenga. You're watching Just Angie, and it's Lifestyle Thursday, and I have a guest, Grace Ekirapa, and here we are.
Yes.
So we left off at, letting go and letting things happen. So you grew up, you had your sister step in, you had your different mothers that you've had, and we're moving.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd ask you, how did you get into TV then?
Oh, so TV happened many years later, after high school. First of all, when I was in high school, I still had a very close relationship with God. And I had a mentor then who was holding my hand. Him and his wife held my hand through my salvation process and path. And so I remember one time I had a vision, which I didn't quite understand. And so when he came for my prayer day, I asked him, what does this mean? And he said, God said I do something about Bible school. And for me, I wanted to be a pediatrician. Yeah, I wanted to be a children's doctor. I thought that's the call God wanted for me. But I realized later that no. So God said Bible school, but I had no idea about any Bible school, none whatsoever. So when I told him, he told me about one school of ministry that he knew about, and he said we should try it. So we went so when I finished November, I finished high school, I cleared my last paper in November. In December, we were doing an interview, and in January, I was in class. So I joined Bible school. Yeah.
Wow.
So I joined Bible school after high school immediately, and that was a 2-year process, which was very intense. The school of ministry I went to was very intense, which I thank God I went to. And then the last year, I was still doing music, but not very consistent. And so this one time I just thought, one of the producers that I worked with was a lecturer at the school. His name is Gideon Kimanzi.
I know Gideon.
Yes. So Gideon's like, yeah, we can do a song. So we did a song, and after a while I released one of the songs and I took it to studio. So when I was taking it to KBC, I met a producer there, and I gave him the music, and conversation started, and I told him I wanted to be on TV, but to do a children's show. I didn't know how to host a show. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe a kids show would be nice, and so he said, let's do a proposal. We did, and it didn't go through immediately. And he said, before it goes on, can you just come maybe and do this other show? So Angaza was the show then. And so I was introduced to Angaza as a guest. I went the first time, the second time. The third time they asked me to come in and co-host.
Wow.
And the journey began. And so they said, just come and co-host, and we do give you a 2-year period, a 2 months probation, and then after that we can take you permanently. And I ended up doing 2 years without being paid.
Really?
Yeah, I did 2 years without being paid. They kept saying, we will revisit. But the one thing that kept me is I knew God placed me there for a reason. And so in as much as I had financial needs, he provided. He sorted me out.
That's amazing.
I finished school. I started, I was doing Angaza full time because it was on a Saturday, but the whole week I was preparing for it and all that. And 2 years later, they started to pay, but I didn't stay long. After 2 years, God opened another door, crossover, and that's how I ended up there.
Wow.
Yeah, and so 2 years paid for the time that I was training, because that was my training ground.
Yeah.
And every single morning I woke up, I knew God had a plan. So even though I wanted to give up, I had a voice in me saying, this is where you need to be.
Wow.
And people don't know this, but by the time I was leaving KBC, they had actually auditioned for another host. They were planning to let me go down slowly,
Planning to let you down quietly.
Yeah, without any noise and anything.
Wow.
So, but I was beginning to feel very uncomfortable. I didn't have the conviction I had before. I wasn't as confident anymore, So I was very distracted, and I knew there's something going on.
There's a transition.
There's a transition, yes. And so when they once called us, I remember it was a Saturday after the show, they called us and said, guys, we are planning to rebrand the show, and that will mean some of you leaving. I was so sure they're talking about me.
Wow.
I was so sure. Not that I was doing a bad job.
It's a way the spirit man knows. Just knew it was you. It was your time.
I knew it, yeah. And so I went home that day and I really cried and I said, God, I can't believe this. Please don't put me to shame. Don't put me to shame. I was so broken. And I remember that day I was playing a song in the background by Carrie Job. It says, You're My Beloved. And Carrie Job is a woman, is a female singer. Yeah, but when I was on the floor, because I actually ended up laying down flat on the floor crying and asking God, what next?
Are you doing? Yeah, what's next?
There was a man's voice in the room.
Wow.
And I didn't realize what was happening until at some point I stopped and I said, wait.
That's a female song.
That's a female song and that's a man's voice. So I actually woke up from the floor. I went to check the laptop and I thought Carrie Job, somebody else did a rendition. It was actually Carrie Job. The lady singing, but now this is a man's voice. So and I read the voice, there's the words, I read the voice, the words clearly, and the word said, You're my beloved, you're my child. To sing over you is my reward. Wow. Come and relay with me, my child, or something like that. So it was a very strong conviction in my heart. I knew God is in this room. God has just confirmed something. The next day was Sunday. I didn't go to church. I was still in my PT party.
And God has spoken.
God has spoken.
The PT party and God has spoken. But it's okay. It happens to all of us.
And that's to say, it doesn't mean that every time God speaks, you'll be super confident.
Yes, or super encouraged even.
In fact, maybe that's the time you'll actually feel the most broken. But you have to keep reminding yourself that God spoke. God spoke, God spoke. So that day, I was in the house. And so my pastor was in Israel with his wife. They'd gone for a visit. So I knew there's no way he doesn't know that I'm not in church. There's no way he knows that I'm not in church. So I was in the house. And you know what happened? I checked my phone and I saw a WhatsApp message from him. And he wrote and said, my daughter, wipe your tears, God has had you. Wow. It was the most spookiest thing ever.
And he was in Israel.
He was
God
in
has
Israel.
spoken again. Not only in the voice. Once have I spoken.
I knew very well nobody has told him. So how does he know? He said, wipe your tears, God has heard your cry. And so I asked him, Dad, how did you know? I said, you're my child. God will allow me to see what he wants.
That is so true.
And so I said, thank you, Dad. And I went back to sleep. But before that, I took my phone and it was on silent, so I put it on vibration. And before I slept, I said the words of my father. I said, my father says, and this is what we declare, that God, may you put my name in the mouths and hearts of people who matter.
Wow.
And I took that, I said that, and I slept. It was hardly 5 minutes later, I got a call. 5 minutes.
From NTV?
Yeah.
You can't be serious.
It's the same day. All these things are happening in the morning.
One day.
I got this call and this person says, your name was given and we think you can be a good, fit for this. I didn't even know they were auditioning. First of all, I didn't even know the previous host was leaving, So I said, are you sure? Is this a prank? You said, no, my name is so-and-so. You can verify, call so-and-so. So I called and they said, that's true. There's an audition. And the rest is history.
And you did go for the audition?
I did. I went for all of them. And because I was very scared, I didn't like auditions. I had gone for one and it didn't turn out well. They had chosen someone before and they made us go through the whole hassle.
Just for the sake of it.
So I was like, I don't want to do auditions. But this one I went in, I was always asking to be the first person. I do it and I leave. So I did the first two. The third one was an interview, me interviewing somebody on set, and then the fourth one was to negotiate the contract.
Wow.
Yeah.
And God did not put you to shame?
He did not. In fact, now I came to know later, after I'd already gotten a job, that somebody had been auditioned. She called me. She's like, hi Grace, I'm really sorry, but I just felt I should tell you, because she was my friend. And she said, okay, so when you were in KBC, they auditioned me and they took me for the job and I was supposed to replace you. It's like, when were you going to tell me?
For KBC?
Yeah. And unfortunately, she didn't even get the job. She didn't take it.
But now what lessons do we learn from that? That's a friend?
Imagine that was a friend. But I actually got to understand. Probably she wasn't sure how to tell me. But still, loyalty is important.
Loyalty is very important. I'm learning that the hard way. I myself have not been loyal in certain situations, but
Yes.
I'm learning that loyalty is very, very important.
Loyalty
And you
is
just
not
come
bought.
and tell somebody.
Yeah, and you know, when somebody, this is what God was telling me, and I wanted to put it on a post, and probably I will. Somebody being loyal to you doesn't mean they're weak. It just means they're strong enough to put you first.
That's very
You
powerful.
know, because I've had instances in my life when I found very good people, but they were not loyal to me. They ended up, you know, because I didn't have what they thought I did. Maybe the expectation was beyond what I could give, and so I've seen people who've left my life and said stuff and done things, but the one thing that remains is I was loyal to you. That's the only thing I cover, you know, and carry through myself. And so if you want, you carry your cross, please. I did my part. And not to say we're all perfect. I think everyone fails. But when you're intentional about it, I think you can do it. You can do it.
You can be a loyal person.
You can be. And you don't have to be loyal to a million people. Just choose that one person. Yeah.
Wow, that's so powerful. But I'm glad that God answered you, that He got you the job, and you've been there. I don't know, how long have you been there now?
My third year. Actually, August was my third year.
Third year birth, and it's gone really well because I know I've been on a crossover.
Yeah.
I know I get to watch it whenever I can, and that's amazing. And I knew the host even before, so that's really an awesome gift. So we'll close that down for now. In terms of Lifestyle Thursday about loyalty, we'll end up on loyalty, and that God doesn't put His children to shame.
No,
so
He doesn't.
hold on to the word, hold on to that audible voice, and when He closes one door, He's definitely opening up another one. And I like the fact that you decreed the word of God about what the Father says, and I'm so grateful for that. So, wow. See you next Thursday where we continue this conversation. God bless. Bye-bye.